So everyone knows that Halloween is right around the corner, which means it's spooky season. This is that time of the year where everyone whips out their best sweaters, jackets, scarves, mugs, and whatever pumpkin spice flavored stuff they have. This is also that time of the year where people go to Halloween parties, get drunk, and go trick-or-treating, getting all kinds of cavities they can possibly get in one night. Seriously, why do people celebrate this holiday again? Growing up, I actually wasn't allowed to celebrate Halloween because, you know, it's demonic. And I actually didn't care to celebrate this holiday, but I did enjoy watching all of the TV specials growing up. Speaking of, the Halloween specials were just so amazing to watch on TV growing up. I remember as a kid watching marathons of my favorite shows during this time of the year and really looking forward to the spooky themed episodes that would only come on once a year. For many TV shows, the Halloween specials were usually the best and the most memorable episodes from the entire series. Some of them were actually really scary and some were just really goofy, but still a fun time to watch. I just love the suspense that these episodes had, whether it included the characters escaping from a killer, trying to reverse some curse, or just getting stranded somewhere haunted. For today's video, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite Halloween episodes over the years. Some of these episodes are considered to be the best Halloween specials of all time by many people and fans of the shows. For this list, I'll be looking back at mostly teen and family sitcoms, so yeah. So to start off the list, let's take a look back at one of the most well-known Halloween episodes from the 90s. So Family Matters had these two episodes in the later seasons called Stevil and Stevil 2, which were the creepiest episodes from the series in my opinion. So in the first episode, Steve Urkel buys this ventriloquist dummy named Stevil, and the dummy actually resembles Steve, which is just so uncanny and creepy but funny at the same time, if you get what I'm saying. After getting struck by lightning, Stevil later comes to life, terrorizing the Winslow family and Steve. He even tries stealing his soul, which is just so creepy and bizarre, especially for a show just like this. This all ends up being a dream sequence where Carl wakes up Steve having a nightmare, meaning the events we just witnessed just didn't exist. This is actually a common theme that we will see with a lot of these Halloween episodes later on in this video, where they end up being just dream sequences. Family Matters has another Halloween episode in the next season, which was a continuation of the whole Stevil plotline. So this episode starts off with Carl getting a package of a dummy that resembles him, whose name just happens to be Carlsbad. Shortly after, Stevil returns and possesses Carlsbad, causing him to come to life, later terrorizing Steve and Carl. And this episode is just so chaotic and honestly scary, watching the two dummies try to steal the souls of Carl and Steve. I'm not gonna lie, this has to be one of the most bizarre episodes of the entire series. They even had a clear "Here's Johnny" reference from The Shining in this episode, which is just so clever and works very well here. You have to give props to Jaleel White and Reginald VelJohnson for their acting throughout this episode. They just accurately portrayed the emotions of being terrified and scared and creeped out. But on a good note, the episode ends once again in a big dream sequence. So That's So Raven was actually one of my favorite shows growing up. I actually have a whole video talking about it. So the That's So Raven Halloween episode has to be one of the funniest Halloween episodes that I've ever seen in my opinion. And it was honestly one of my favorites growing up. Raven and Chelsea feel some type of way for not getting invited to Alana's Halloween party and really want to go. They really want to go to this party because everybody from the school gets invited, even Eddie. So what do, you ask? The most normal thing any teenager from a Disney Channel sitcom would do. The two cast a spell to get invited to the party and be the best dressed at the event. And of course, this being That's So Raven, that doesn't happen. Thanks to Chelsea accidentally dropping a pin with a cow symbol in the potion, Raven and Chelsea slowly turn into cows throughout the episode. And this concept for an episode was just so bizarre and funny. Just seeing the two turn into cows and moo every other sentence was honestly just so hilarious to me as a little kid. I really enjoyed this episode. And one thing that always bothered me about this episode was the fact that they kept this secret from Eddie, which makes no sense because he's a part of the friend group and he knows that Raven is a psychic, but I guess. They make it to the party with the typical Raven antics the show is known for and end up completely turning into cows by the end of the episode. Once again, the episode ends with it being a dream sequence, this time around being more of a daydream sequence and Raven breaking the fourth wall. This was just such a fun, bizarre, left field, wacky, and random episode of the show, but still one of my favorites. Also, before we move on with the list, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up and follow for more fun videos just like this. Now back to the video. So the Boy Meets World Halloween episode technically isn't a Halloween episode since it aired in early February. It just feels like one because of the spooky dark elements, which is fitting for this time of the year. And this had to be one of the most memorable Halloween episodes of all time and considered one of the best from many people. So the cast all gets thrown into detention, and instantly within minutes, creepy stuff just starts happening to them. Feeny leaves the detention room and the group sees a note written in blood on the chalkboard saying, "No one gets out alive," only to find themselves locked in the classroom shortly after. They also see a creepy janitor outside the class window blocking them from escaping the room. All kinds of creepy antics ensues throughout this episode, including the lights flickering on and off, creepy background music, jump scares, and even stabbing scenes. And it's one of those episodes where the cast just slowly gets picked off one by the unnamed killer with the mask. This specific episode draws inspiration and is a clear parody of the horror films Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, mostly Scream, which were both massively popular horror films back in the 90s. Jennifer Love Hewitt also makes a guest appearance, which just makes this episode even better. And this is the episode that has the iconic line, "OMG, they killed Kenny." And this line was also later referenced in a South Park episode, which is just so iconic.
Oh my gosh! They killed Kenny! Oh my god! They killed Kenny!
That's how you know your show's iconic, when you have cartoons like South Park recreating scenes. I'm honestly really shocked that this episode even got greenlit to air on TV, as this was a family-friendly teen sitcom on ABC at the time. They really got away with a lot, as this episode had a darker tone than anything this show had put out prior, as well as many other shows at the time. The network was actually really hesitant and scared to put this episode out because they feared it would be a bit too scary for their younger audiences, which, I mean, I can't blame them. This episode is a bit scary.
Look at the material.
But it did end up being a fan favorite amongst the viewers, as it was later revealed that the cast really enjoyed making this specific Halloween episode, showcasing their range as actors. After more chaos ensues, the killer ends up pushing the group out of the window to their demise. Corey, Topanga, and Sean finally confront the killer, unmasking him, only to find out that the killer is actually a doppelganger of Sean, which is just the most 90s thing ever. And once again, the episode ends with, you guessed it, yet another dream sequence, meaning none of the events that we just witnessed ever happened. I really don't know why this was a trend back in the 90s and the 2000s, but it was amongst a lot of popular shows at the time. Sean tries to explain his nightmares to everybody, but ends up looking crazy in front of his friends and later apologizes to them for getting them all thrown into detention. And right before the credits, the episode ends once again in another dream sequence, this time by Mr. Feeny, which was just so funny. Okay, so let's talk about some Halloween episodes that are less scary and more funny. If you've ever seen The Office, you'll know that this show is known for its random and dry humor. The Dunder Mifflin crew had several Halloween-themed episodes that are just super random that I just felt like including in this video. There's the one where Dwight tries to pull off a prank to Aaron where he wears a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin on his head. Just so funny. And the funny thing about this episode is that the pumpkin actually gets stuck on his head after several attempts to take it off. He later says to the camera that hopefully in a few months, the pumpkin will rot and fall off of his face. Just so funny. Oh, Dwight. There's also the ones where Stanley is giving a Haunted Mansion-esque tour for kids and having trouble guessing everyone's obvious costumes. You had the one where Jim didn't want to put any effort into his Halloween costume over the years after being offered to dress as Popeye. And speaking of costumes, the Dunder Mifflin crew throws a staff Halloween costume party, and they all have trouble guessing what each other are. And some of the costumes were really creative, fun, and unique, while others are just really bad, which leads to some great comedic moments throughout the episode. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the show, I like the idea of working at an office setting because one, it's relatable to a lot of middle-class America, and the possibilities of the stories are just endless. So yeah, I just wanted to include that just because I don't think it's the best Halloween episode, but I just wanted to include The Office because I think that show is kind of funny and does have some funny moments, but mostly because of Dwight, because he's the best character on the show. So I wanted to save this episode for last because it's obviously the best one. Similar to the Boy Meets World episode, the Sweet Life special isn't really a Halloween episode, just feels like one due to its darker and scarier nature. And this episode was called The Ghost of Sweet 613. The Ghost of Sweet 613 has to be by far the most iconic and memorable Halloween episode from any kids show in my opinion. And I'm sure if you ask anybody around my age, they'd say the Sweet Life episode is the best and most memorable, iconic iconic Halloween episode from Disney or Nickelodeon, and I honestly used to get so scared watching this one as a kid. It's suspenseful and funny at the same time. This is definitely Disney Channel's most popular Halloween episode to date, and this episode was just so special because the cast actually improvised a lot of their lines and were all featured together for most of it, which is rare for shows like this. So after hearing rumors and stories of one of the hotel suites possibly being haunted, Zach and Cody decide to spend the night in Suite 613 alongside Maddie, London, and Esteban. Zach places a $5 bet that Cody can spend the night in the room without getting scared, while London is only there to get her purse back from the ghost, and her purse had a lot of money in it. They end up spending the night in the suite to prove that it's not haunted and all made up, only to witness creepy activity throughout the night. We get all kinds of jump scares, loud screams, and of course thunder and lightning effects to help with the creepy aesthetics. We also get that iconic scene where Esteban pretends to be possessed by Irene the ghost, and this scene was honestly just so scary as a kid. Shout out to the actor Adrian Ramonte who played Esteban. I mean, this has to be one of the greatest acting I've ever seen in any kids show. Talk about some commitment. Arwen later shows up after seeing paranormal activity happening and tries to get rid of the ghost with his ghost trapper invention. Side note, I think Arwen is the funniest side character in this show. He's just so hilarious. We later find out that everyone was actually in on this elaborate prank to scare Zach to get back at him for constantly pranking them. Now I know that this is a kids show, but when did Cody have the time to get everybody together to pull off this prank without Zach knowing? It just doesn't make sense to me because he just realistically wouldn't have enough time to pull this off, but this is Disney Channel, so. Either way, this was a very enjoyable episode from start to finish, making it one of the best from the Sweet Life series. There were many other Halloween episodes that I could have included in this video, like the Fresh Prince one where Will gets the whole family cursed, the Parkers episode where Kim feels like she's being stalked by a killer, or the Friends episode where they throw a big costume party and Rachel didn't want to dress up for some reason. I could have even included Goosebumps, and that entire show is just creepy, but fun at the same time. All in all, as creepy and scary as most of the Halloween themed episodes were, they were all really memorable in their own right and really entertaining to watch. So yeah, I don't really have much more to add to this video. What are your favorite Halloween episodes and what would you consider are the best? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Feel free to like, share, and comment under this video and subscribe for more fun videos just like this. See ya!